2014, Silicon Valley is high on disruption, funding wild bets with no questions asked. Into this frenzy steps a 19-year-old dropout with Steve Jobs' wardrobe and a voice lowered to be taken seriously. Her promise? No needles, no waiting rooms, just a single drop of blood and a revolution in healthcare. What could possibly go wrong? In under a decade, this black turtleneck evangelist accumulated $4.5 billion personally, commanded a $9 billion company valuation, and graced every major business magazine, despite never proving her technology actually worked. Today on The Philosophy of Marketing, we're dissecting the most audacious healthcare fraud in history and showing how belief, branding, and blind optimism let it all happen. To understand how Theranos pulled off the most spectacular medical con in tech history, we need to rewind 2 decades. 2003, the internet bubble just popped, Sand Hill Road hunts desperately for the next big thing, and at Stanford, a 19-year-old named Elizabeth Holmes has a pathological fear of needles. Holmes watched her uncle battle cancer and became obsessed with catching the disease early on. She had a vision, a tiny drop of blood, instant results, no labs, no needles. It sounded like science fiction, but to Holmes, it was more than that. It was a billion-dollar idea. So she dropped out of Stanford and pitched a sleek little box called the Edison, a medical marvel that promised to test for everything from cholesterol to cancer using just 1 drop of blood. There was only one problem: she never proved it actually worked, and spoiler alert, it didn't. What happens next is a masterclass in psychological warfare disguised as healthcare innovation. Instead of following biotech protocols, Elizabeth Holmes makes 4 moves that should have triggered every possible red flag. First, she claims her device can run over 240 tests using samples 1,000 times smaller than normal. Second, she promises prices that undercut labs by huge margins. Third, she scales without peer review, chasing retail deals over scientific proof. And fourth, she operates in complete secrecy, refusing to publish any research or allow independent testing. Think about the investor mindset here for a moment. When you're hunting for the next billion-dollar unicorn, red flags start looking like competitive advantages. No clinical trials, they're moving faster than traditional pharma. Impossible pricing, they've cracked the code that big medicine couldn't. Holmes understood that in Silicon Valley's gold rush mentality, the bigger the promise, the less investors question the fundamentals. She turned their fear of missing out into her funding strategy. Marketing tactic number 1. When you can't deliver, oversell the dream. Here's where Holmes' dark genius came through. She couldn't compete with real diagnostics companies on actual results. So she repositioned Theranos not as better medicine, but as magic medicine. Customers weren't buying blood tests, they were buying the fantasy of painless healthcare. Look at these calculated choices: redefining disease detection, tech-inspired minimalist design, actionable health insights from tiny samples. Every detail screamed medical breakthrough. Laboratory medicine is stuck in the past. We're building tomorrow's diagnostics today. Elizabeth Holmes in her 2014 Forbes interview. She literally built a healthcare company using Silicon Valley's fake it till you make it playbook, and somehow investors bought every word. Creating slick marketing was just step 1. Theranos needed establishment credibility without establishment science. Instead of scientific validation, Holmes executed an elaborate reputation laundering scheme focused on famous names before advisory board theater was even a thing. But she wasn't randomly collecting advisors. Her targeting was surgical. Former Secretaries of State Henry Kissinger and George Shultz, military brass James Mattis, William Perry, political heavyweights Bill Frist, Sam Nunn, media mogul Rupert Murdoch, and wealthy dynasties the DeVos family. Each name delivered instant prestige to status-obsessed VCs who saw Theranos as their ticket to healthcare transformation. Once these power players endorsed it, everyone else followed like lemmings. Marketing tactic number 2. Steal credibility through strategic name dropping. Investigative journalist John Carreyrou nailed their strategy. Holmes collected famous names like baseball cards. In Silicon Valley, your board often matters more than your product. This wasn't networking, this was systematic credibility theft. Holmes' masterstroke? Realizing that in healthcare, where customers can't test the tech, perception beats reality every time. Marketing tactic number 3. When proof is impossible, sell the story. While real medical companies published research and chased FDA approvals, Theranos built something more valuable to investors: an irresistible disruption story. The narrative: Holmes as healthcare's Steve Jobs, using revolutionary nanotainers to democratize testing via proprietary Edison machines for comprehensive diagnostics. See the gap here? Real labs show actual data and FDA stamps. Theranos sold visionary leadership and disruptive potential. And here's the alarming stats from Theranos. Working Edison machines, 0 confirmed units, traditional machine dependency, 90+% of their tests, published studies, 0 peer-reviewed papers, FDA approvals, 1 minor test that was later pulled, and their peak valuation, $9 billion. By 2015, Theranos sat on a mountain of investor cash, built entirely on fantasy. This wasn't medical innovation, it was industrial-grade smoke and mirrors. Our breakthrough tech lets us run comprehensive tests using sample volumes a fraction of traditional methods. Elizabeth Holmes in her 2015 TED Talk. The scary part? This mythology lasted over a decade without independent verification. Most medical startups get scrutinized immediately. Theranos somehow avoided it completely. 2013, Holmes deploys another brilliant deception. Instead of FDA approval like normal medical companies, she lands a Walgreens partnership for in-store wellness centers. This single idea became their entire legitimacy foundation. Every investor pitch, media hit, and board meeting highlighted Walgreens' validations, creating instant market credibility. And here are the numbers from Theranos. Total funding raise, $945 million. Planned Walgreens locations, 40 different wellness centers. Holmes' peak net worth, $4.5 billion in 2014. Their employee count at their peak, over 800 people. And finally, the total functional Edison machines, still 0. This flipped medical device logic upside down. Instead of proving it works, then finding distribution, Theranos got distribution, then used it to fake proof. Think about this audacity. Holmes convinced Walgreens to partner in 2010 and kept that going for years, while their core tech was completely broken. Marketing tactic number 4. Transform partnerships into fake proof of concept. John Carreyrou explained why this worked. The Walgreens deal carried more weight than any clinical study. It screamed commercial viability even when the science was pure fiction. Diabolical, but brilliant. Now for the most psychologically sophisticated part, Elizabeth Holmes' personal mythology machine. Early 2010s, Holmes becomes Silicon Valley's golden child. Magazine covers, viral talks, major conferences. The manipulation, she rarely discussed the actual science. Her brand became so linked with innovation that media and investors promoted Holmes as a visionary without questioning the underlying claims. 2014, Holmes hits Fortune, Forbes, Time, Inc., Harvard Business Review. The Holmes mystique was born. She wasn't just a CEO, she was Silicon Valley's promise of female entrepreneurship and healthcare revolution. And here's the Holmes hype cycle. 2010, Stanford network activation. 2013, Walgreens publicity blitz. 2014, national magazine domination. 2015, the youngest self-made female billionaire peak. And in 2016, the whistleblower reality check begins. The wildest part, Theranos spent almost nothing on traditional ads. Holmes' personal brand did all of the heavy lifting. Marketing tactic number 5. Replace product proof with personal charisma. When the product doesn't deliver, the story takes over. Elizabeth Holmes didn't just sell a device, she sold herself. The black turtleneck, the deep voice, the bold vision, it all created an aura of genius too powerful to question. She became the product, and that's the danger. When charisma outweighs evidence, real people pay the price. But every house of cards eventually falls. In October 2015, Wall Street Journal reporter John Carreyrou published his first explosive investigation, a bombshell that sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley and the healthcare world. The story exposed what insiders had been whispering for years: Theranos was faking it. Blood samples were being diluted and secretly processed on traditional lab machine. The Edison, the core of the entire Theranos promise, barely worked, if at all. It wasn't just a technical failure, it was a betrayal of patients, investors, and the very idea of innovation. The dominoes, well, they fell fast. 2016, Walgreens terminates the partnerships and the federal investigations are launched. The company value in 2017 collapses to 0. In 2018, Theranos officially shuts down. And in 2022, Elizabeth Holmes is convicted on 4 counts of fraud. In less than 2 years, a $9 billion startup, once hailed as the future of medicine, had become one of the most infamous frauds in corporate history. The woman who once graced the covers of Forbes, Time, and Fortune was now heading to federal prison. So what does all of this mean for entrepreneurs, investors, and anyone chasing the next big thing? Because Theranos isn't just a story about fraud, it's a blueprint for how powerful storytelling, branding, and belief can build billion-dollar illusions. And if we're not careful, it can happen again. That's why we're breaking down 5 critical marketing principles, lessons you can use to build with integrity or spot the warning signs before it's too late. Number 1, sell transformation, not just improvement. Theranos didn't offer slightly better blood tests, they promised to eliminate needles forever. That's what made it headline worthy. Ask yourself, are you offering a meaningful transformation? How bold is your promise, and can you back it up? Number 2. Authority builds trust, sometimes too early. Theranos secured high-profile advisors before proving the tech. Their names gave the illusion of credibility. Ask yourself, who could help validate your vision responsibly, and are you building trust before you've earned it? Number 3. Partnerships signal legitimacy, rightly or wrongly. Theranos used its Walgreens deal to imply the tech worked, but the partnerships came before proof. Ask yourself, are your partnerships truly built on value or just optics? Number 4. Your personal brand can overshadow your product. Holmes became a symbol of healthcare innovation despite little technical evidence. Ask yourself, is your narrative aligned with reality? Does your story enhance the product or distract from it? And finally, number 5, speed is not always a virtue, especially in high-stakes industries. Move fast and break things may work in software, but in medicine, it can destroy lives. Ask yourself, are you applying startup tactics to environments that demand caution? What are the real-world consequences of getting it wrong? And here's the aftermath scorecard from Theranos. Elizabeth Holmes, sentenced to over 11 years in federal prison. Ramesh Balwani, 13 years in federal prison. Total investor losses, $945 million destroyed. Patient harm, hundreds of false results. Industry impact, massive regulatory crackdown. And legal precedent, startup founder accountability established. Theranos proves the most dangerous brands don't just bend truth, they manufacture entirely fake realities. I believe in our mission, I believe in our technology, Elizabeth Holmes in her 2021 trial testimony. Next time you see a startup promising to revolutionize everything, remember, you're not just seeing business innovation, you're seeing the most powerful example of how marketing can create billion-dollar fantasies, even with nothing behind the curtain. Now, if you like this marketing breakdown of Theranos, hit that like button and subscribe to the Philosophy of Marketing. And drop a comment below, which other controversial marketing cases should we investigate next? Also check out our free ebook, The 5 Hidden Marketing Laws Every Brand Breaks. And finally remember, great marketing should amplify reality, not manufacture it.